Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are, whenever you're watching this. This is Floating in Dreams. Today we are going to be tier ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes I bought so far in 2022. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today's video is going to be a little bit differently because we're going to be tier ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I bought in 2022. And this is a video concept that I decided to do because I wanted to somehow sort of do an overview of all of the eyeshadow palettes I've bought so far. But I've been doing monthly hauls, so you kind of know what I've already bought. So I kind of wanted to make like a list of predictions because I haven't actually used any of these yet, to sort of predict which I think I'm going to love and which ones I'm like, why did I even buy this? So we're going to be doing a tier ranking, which is why I'm sitting a little further back in the frame so we can have a nice little tier ranking overview here, which I'll pop on the screen right now. And then we're going to get started. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I love coming on here to chat about eyeshadow palettes, ASOS and CATRICE reviews, and I love getting the use out of my makeup. And because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I deem myself a snow angel. So if you'd like to join the Snow Angel Club, then hit the subscribe button down below, and I would love for you to join my family on here. So yeah, in today's video, we're going to be tier ranking my eyeshadow palette purchases of the year so far. I haven't used any of these yet, unfortunately, because I'm always a little bit behind. I just said I like getting the use out of my makeup. When I try an eyeshadow palette, I want to be able to use every single shade before I share my reviews with you. So that always means it takes me a little bit more time to get through things. Last year I did a similar video, but I just showed it as a haul, and at the time I had purchased over 50 eyeshadow palettes. I'm very proud to say that this year I've definitely cut down on how many palettes I buy. I've bought 23 so far. One of them was gifted to me in PR, so technically there are 22 that I purchased with my own money. The palettes not part of the ranking today are the ASOS and CATRICE palettes that I've bought in the past couple of months, because those have already been reviewed and I do have videos up with those. So make sure to link all of those reviews, whether it's blog posts or videos, down below. So I'm not going to be featuring the Essence Welcome to Miami and Benvenuti ROMA palettes. I'm not going to be featuring the CATRICE Pro Slim Hint of Mint palette. I'm not going to be featuring the Essence Jurassic World or the CATRICE Tropic Exotic palettes. And I won't be featuring the 6 eyeshadow palettes that ASOS and CATRICE released in their limited edition Disney Classics Tan Wild Together collection. That was a mouthful. But yeah, there are still 23 palettes to chat about. So let's get started. I'm going to go through them in alphabetical order, and then we'll pop them on the screen in the different rankings. So the first tier I have here is, I'm going to be predicting this is a top fave. 2, a palette that will definitely stay in my collection for sure. It's not going to be a super favorite, but I can see this hanging around for a while. The third category, I wasn't too sure of, but I've called it okay but unimpressive swatches. So I'm thinking this is going to be a good enough palette, but there was just something about the initial first impression that I now have of the palette that makes me go a little bit on the fence. When I use this could still be really, really good, or it could also go more towards the bottom of the tier. And then I have a section that I've just called Bought for Review, because I am on YouTube, I have a blog, and there are palettes that I don't think I would have bought if it wasn't for being on YouTube. So Bought for a Review I felt warranted its own category. And then last but not least, why did I buy this? And we're just going to be tier ranking all of these palettes here. So the first palette I need to chat to you about is the ABH Nouveau palette. This is quite new. I haven't really shown it in a haul yet, but I did already mention that I bought it in June. So I felt, because it fell before the 1st of July sort of purchase limit, I thought I could feature it here. And the ABH Nouveau palette is one that I'm predicting is going to be a top fave. A lot of you were already mentioning, the minute I saw this palette, I had to think of you. I think the ABH Nouveau palette is definitely one of the best releases in the year so far. I am a little bit nervous though. Now that I have it, because it came in, it's definitely more warm tone than it looked in the pictures to me online, which has been the case with a lot of palettes that I've bought in recent months, I have to say. But I think that I'm going to be loving this. It's going to go into my review pile, and I'm going to be reviewing it in the next couple of months, but I'm predicting that this will be a favorite. I then have to mention some Adept cosmetics. So the Adept Cosmetics Ninhydrin palette is one that I sort of eyed up the minute it was released, but I wasn't entirely sure. And then I put Adept as a brand to try in 2022 on my list of new brands to try. Every year I make like a list of like 10 brands that I would like to try at some point in that year, and Adept was one of them. So I bought the Ninhydrin because it seems to have a few mattes. Not a lot of our palettes had mattes at the start, and then it seems to have a bunch of really beautiful shimmers, some of which are even multi-chromes, and this like purpley green sort of vibe with some really stunning neutrals that I think can make for really nice transition shades. I think I will like a lot. So I put this in the tier will stay in my collection. And the reason why I'm putting it in will stay in my collection is because I do see myself using this more often, but I don't think it's going to be a top favorite. I already have some multi-chromes in my collection from Cliona, and I really like them, but I'm not entirely like sold on the concept of a multi-chrome now that I have a couple, but I really wanted to try the formula, and that's why I also have another palette on this list, because it just made sense to buy two because of like all the shipping and handling fees. Very often it's cheaper to buy a bit more than to just buy one single palette. So that's what I did here. And I also bought the Plain Jane Remastered palette from Adept. And this one I'm going to be putting in, bought it in for a review. And this is actually the palette that's on my eyes today, in case you're wondering, because I am trying some of these things out as we're talking. But yeah, I just kind of threw it in the cart, not because it was like, this is going to stand the test of time, but I just thought if I really want to get a feel for the formula, it's good to have two different palettes here. Now the Plain Jane palette was much raved about, but it was revamped, and then the Plain Jane Remastered came out. This color story just excites me a lot less, so I kind of just put it in the cart to round out the order. And I have it. I've used it today for the first time. I think there are some stunning shades in here, but I think the Ninhydrin will be my favorite of the two. Next up, we need to chat about Blend Bunny. And Blend Bunny was a brand that was on so many people's end of year lists last year, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to try this. But their palettes are quite big, and I don't love really big palettes. But then they released the Dollhouse at the start of the year, and the Search palette was in stock. So I did the same thing as I did with the Adept palettes. I bought both of them at the same time so I can give the brand a chance. So the Dollhouse palette is the one that really intrigued me. It's a cool tone neutral palette. So you knew I had to give this a whirl. I had to give this a try. Yes, granted, it is still too big, but for me, the Dollhouse palette I think will definitely stay in my collection because I just love a cool tone, and these swatched beautifully. So I was pretty impressed with the formula just at first swatch. There are some warm tones here, especially towards the left part of the palette, but I do think that I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. I'm not sure about that very dark row in the middle though. I'm a bit nervous about that, whether those undertones are going to show up on me at all. I have found often with very deep shades that the different nuances just don't really show up because I'm so fair and everything just looks black. So I'm not entirely sure it's going to be perfect, which is why it's not a top fave, but I can see this hanging around for a while. And then the Surge. So like with the Adept order, I kind of put the Surge palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics into my order to round it out. And this was interesting to me. I'm not a huge fan of rainbow palettes anymore. I actually decluttered quite a few of them in my most recent eyeshadow palette declutter that went up in March. But this definitely had something differently here because it does have the grungy tones in the middle. It has shimmers, with which a lot of rainbow palettes don't have. And it has a full row of neons. And I don't have that many neon shades. So I felt that this was going to offer something differently to me, which is why I wanted to put it into my collection, try it out, see if I like it. And if I like it, I will definitely keep it around for some time. But these intensely like super bright shades, I mean, I'm more of a neutral gal myself, so I know this won't go into like everyday rotation, but I do like a colorful look from time to time. And then I did myself a K-beauty order this spring. I placed an order with YesStyle and I got some Clio eyeshadow palettes. I'm not sure which one is which. This is the Picnic by the Sunset, and this is the one that I'm predicting will stay in my collection. This is a very pretty neutral, very fair skin friendly color story. And this is the one of the two palettes I got that I think I might like the best, because it has more shimmers. What I didn't know until I got these home is that one was more matte heavy and really only had one shimmer, which is the other one you'll be seeing in a minute. And the other one just had some little more like neutral undertones going on. So I felt that the Picnic by the Sunset may be the one that I will get the most use out of for a quick everyday look. But the second palette I got, which is called Walking on the Cozy Alley. Yeah, these names. Walking on the Cozy Alley. I said, it's okay, but I wasn't too impressed with the swatches. In terms of the colors it has, it seems to offer a bit more variety, which I like. But because it just doesn't have that many textures, I know I won't be liking this as much as the other one. So I was a bit disappointed with this when I first swatched it. I don't regret buying it. I can definitely get more use out of it, but I would have liked an extra shimmer or two. And then we have a 2-for-1 because Esther gifted me some palettes from the brand Douglas. So Douglas is like our Sephora, you could say. They are a German chain of beauty stores that is also around in the Netherlands. And they have their own name brand. And I've never tried them before. And she had 2 palettes that she wasn't doing anything with. She was like, maybe you can try it. And you've tried the formula. So I was like, yeah, sure. So it came with a warm tone palette and a more cooler neutral tone palette. And these look nice, but pretty basic. I wasn't super impressed. Like the formulas look okay, but for how expensive these are, I don't think these are necessarily worth it if you were to buy these at full price. Like it just feels like drugstore makeup. And I mean, the pigmentation was okay, but I have since learned that it's not just about pigmentation for me. I really also need versatility and blendability and enough shimmers and all that. And the cool tone palette, just when I swatched it out on my skin, it just didn't look as cool toned. I think because it comes in a blue background, it looks more cool toned than it actually is, which is a bit deceiving. So yeah, that's why I'm saying it's okay, but I wasn't super impressed with the first swatches I did. Next up is the M Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in the shade Rodin. And this, the minute I spotted it, it's from the Masterpiece collection they launched earlier in the year. And I spotted this and I was like, this is a neutral palette after my heart. It's got a couple of shimmers, a couple of mattes. It seems to have like a 50-50 split, which I like. It seems to have some darkness, but nothing too deep. So I think for my fair skin, it will be great. It's more of a neutral palette for me though. It's not super cool toned. It's more like smack in the middle neutral, which I like because there aren't many there aren't many brands that do that. And yeah, so this one I'm predicting is going to be a top fave based on the swatches. It's exactly the kind of formula that I like. It feels very buttery and smooth. It seems to be performing pretty well. The shimmers aren't too metallic, but not too satin even either. It has that really nice middle ground. So yeah, this one I'm predicting is going to be a top fave. And then we have some Kaleidos palettes. They released the Smoky Nostalgia collection earlier in the year, and I got the entire collection, and there came 2 quads in this collection. So the Cold Brew, I'm predicting, is going to be a top favorite. I mean, if you know anything about me, they're neutral, they're cool toned. It's mainly brown tones though, it's not that gray. It's got one really stunning, super high shine shimmer that really is going to add that texture that you can tap over other things or in the inner corner. I think I'm going to love this. These taupey browns are right up my street, which is why I'm thinking top fave. But the other one, which is the Black Jasmine quad, I just bought for the review just to have both of them, but this is very gray toned. And you know, I don't mind gray tones. It's just that so many brands seem to think cool tones, grays, and they don't really go into the taupey brown realm. And I just want it to be more taupey brown rather than gray tone, which is why I prefer the Cool Brew over this. The Black Jasmine looks nice. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a stunning smoky eye palette. It will probably stay around in my collection, but I definitely didn't feel I needed this in my life per se, because I already have the ColourPop Blowing Smoke, which is my black, gray, silver tone palette of choice. This is a nice quad. Kaleidos does some really good makeup, but I kind of just bought it just to be able to review both quads and compare them. Another cool tone palette that I mainly bought for the review, and this is the Makeup by Lisa Raven's Castle eyeshadow palette. And this is a very small UK-based indie brand. They're located on the Isle of Wight, if I'm not mistaken. And this was something I saw on Erica's channel, Erica Conger, who I've done a collab with as well. She did a collab with this palette with hers, with a friend of hers, Not Your Basic Steph, who I'm also watching because of her. And she made it look so gorgeous. And I got it in and I was like, very, very nice cool tones. Perhaps a little bit gray. A little bit too gray for my liking, but it's got some really stunning purples here. It does have some taupey browns in here. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it, but so far, I kind of just bought it to round out my cool tone palette review that I want to do for you in August. And like every year I do like a video where I show some recent cool tone palettes that were on the market and my thoughts. And I was like still looking for a palette that could round out that video, and I thought, hey, this can be a really good one for that video. It's a brand I've never tried. I love trying indie brands from time to time. So this is a good one, but it's definitely one I bought more for YouTube reasons than really like personal use. And then next up, my Midas Cosmetics palette. So I bought some Midas Cosmetics through a friend because they were shutting down and they had a massive sale. Before that, Midas Cosmetics was really difficult to get if you were in Europe because they were very expensive in terms of shipping. But they did a massive discount, making it a little bit more worthwhile. So I got the Smoky Glow and the Unveiled Cool Nudes. And both palettes I've put in the category, why did I buy this? Because these palettes, especially Midas Cosmetics as a brand when they were still like up and coming, were very much raved about by a lot of people in the beauty community. And now that I've like got these home, I'm like, is this what the fuss was all about? Because I swatched these and these feel like bad color pop quality to me. Like maybe it's just because they were phasing out and the quality just isn't the same as a couple of years ago. I don't know, maybe these were older palettes, but for a cool tone palette, the Unveiled Cool Nudes just doesn't look that cool tone to me. And the Smoky Glow palette has a stunning color story, but those just didn't really swatch very well. They felt very powdery. You know how dry some of the shades, like those reddish tone shades in the Modern Renaissance can be? That is what this entire palette is. So for me, the Midas Cosmetics I kind of regret, but I'm still going to try it. Still, maybe it wows me. I'm hoping that when I put these on my eyes with a brush, I'm going to fall in love. That's still the hope, but I'm not entirely sure. Like these are the ones where I'm like, why do I own this? And I have already essentially decluttered these as well. I think when I decluttered my eyeshadow palette collection, I was like, I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to try them and then I'm going to get rid of them. So that tells you everything you need to know. Another K-beauty purchase, this is Moonshot's Rêve à Paris eyeshadow palette. And this I put in okay, but I'm a little bit unimpressed by the way this swatches. Not because of the quality. These feel very buttery, smooth, really nice. But again, from what it looked like on the website, I felt it looked a little differently than what I essentially got when I got it home. It's like rosy tones on the left and then these more like burgundy tones on the right. And I thought it was going to be more of a split between cool and warm, but I felt that as I was using it, it was more warm toned overall and not as neutral as I'd like it to be. Like the rosy tones have this very warm undertone. It's still very pretty though, so I will like it for sure. So it's an okay palette. It will definitely stay around for a little bit, but it's not going to be top tier favorite, I'm sure. It's just because it's pocket size. It's a mini palette. It's super small. I know it's going to be great for travel. Then the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo. I bought this in Paris when I was there in April because I felt that this could be a good companion palette with the Mini Retro. So I'm saying this will stay in my collection. I know I like the Natasha Denona formula. I think it can really make these shades work, and especially if I throw it together with the Mini Retro, I know I'm going to get some more versatility out of both of the palettes. This wasn't necessarily my favorite Natasha Denona Mini because it is more warm tone leaning, but I do like some warm tones in the summertime, so I know I will get the use out of this, so this will definitely stay in my collection. Then the Oden's Eye Cosmetics Hella palette with Angelica Nykvist. This was their collab that launched earlier in the year. I think it's already sold out and you can no longer get it. But I bought this knowing I like Oden's Eye, and I was quite taken with the color story. But at first I was like, I don't need this in my collection because it's got all these bright tones. But then I saw Angelica swatching that bottom row and I was I just instantly fell in love. So for me, I'm predicting I'm going to love the bottom row, but those bright greens, the yellows, I don't think I'll go back to it. Also, the pinks aren't my favorite. So I'm definitely going to be able to do a couple of looks with this and like them for sure because it's great quality, but I just wasn't super impressed with how this all came together. I just need something with a bit more versatility. So these are nice colorful shades. I can't fault it. It's okay, but I wasn't super impressed with the color story. Next up is palette number 18, which is CATRICE Major Dimension number 2. And this I bought for the review. I already said it when I saw this popping up in the makeup releases video. I already said I'm gonna buy it and I'm going to try it for the team. So this is definitely one. I think it's going to be far too warm toned for my liking, but it's a rosy toned eyeshadow palette and I love rosy tones. So I felt I couldn't pass it up, but I just also felt like it was perhaps a little bit too much out of my comfort zone, especially now that I have it home and I've swatched it and I can see how warm toned those shimmers are because a lot of them have peach and gold flips to them. I'm a bit nervous. I hope it's going to be beautiful, but it's probably going to be very sultry and glam on my very fair skin. And then that other rosy tone palette that was released, the Sigma New Mod, and this was one, no matter who showed it, if I felt it looked different in every picture, which is again why I kind of bought it thinking, I'm just going to buy it to review it and then we'll see. And then I got it home and I swatched it and I was like, I'm predicting this is going to be another top favorite eyeshadow palette of the year. This looks stunning and it's swatched beautifully on my fair skin. Those purpley tones definitely look more plummy and there was really only one warm tone. So how so many people make this look so warm toned? It's probably because it has gold reflective packaging that kind of skews it. But when I swatched it on my skin tone, I was like, these are the shades I live for. This is what I want. Thank you, Sigma. I think I'm gonna love it. And then we're gonna go into Unearthly Cosmetics. We're almost there. The Fall Magic, I bought a little bit later. They restocked it. It was in a pre-order. It took 2 months to get here. And then 2 shades got shattered. So I was, but this is my kind of color story. Like, this is just so, so stunning. It does have quite a bit of warmth, so I'm not entirely sure it's going to be a top favorite, but I can predict this going into my makeup collection for a long time because this is just a little bit more saturated neutrals with some pops of color. Perfect for the fall time. It's a little bit more on that grungy side, which I love. So I know this is going to stick around. And then the Laura palette is the one that made me a little bit nervous because I have tried Unearthly Cosmetics in the past. They used to be known as Alien Cosmetics. I've tried their Serendipity, which is now called the Poison Apple, and also their Fairy Frolic palettes when they still had round pans, and I loved it. But they've since changed the pan sizes, they've changed the formula, and so I got the Laura palette in after hearing so many people raving about it, and then I was like, I'm not entirely sure. The color story I still love. I just feel that these are very hardly pressed, so I'm very curious to see how these are going to perform at a brush. So I like it. It seems okay, but the swatches make me a little bit nervous. And then the one I solely bought to review it is the Strawberry Milkshake from Unearthly Cosmetics. I mean, I love bright tones, don't get me wrong. It's just not something I go for on the regular, on the daily. So this was, I think, a fun palette to try. I really like the mix of shades we get here. It very much reminds me of the Hella palette from Odin's Eye. But then more curated, more purples, which I like a little bit better. Those bright greens are just really drawing me in. And that red in the middle, I think I'm going to love it. So yeah, I definitely bought it to review it because I don't think there are that many colorful things in today's overview of things. I'm definitely skewing more neutral this year because I feel I have the bright colors I want and need, and this is just a nice addition to that. And finally, something I received in PR, the What's Up Beauty Desert Monsoon palette. This already came to me at like the end of December, but this winter was a bit weird for me. So I haven't even put this in a review yet. I almost forgot about it. I was like, I still need to review this palette. So it's going to come up in a future review. It seems absolutely stunning. Like, this color story looks amazing, and now if I've tried it and I love this, that new Geode palette may actually happen before the end of the year, and I might want to purchase that myself. I think this has exactly the right shades to do a full look, so yeah, this is definitely one that I think will stay around for a long time. This is exactly right on the money for me when it comes to the color story. So there you have it. Those are the 23 palettes that I have bought or come into in the past couple of months that I'm going to be trying out for you this month and also next month, because currently I'm trying out 10 of these for my 10 palette review, which will be going up at the end of this month. And then next month, I hope to do the same thing with the next 10. So I should be able to review all of these things for you in the next couple of months, so definitely stay tuned for more. And next month, we're doing eyeshadow palette month, so if you'd like to stay tuned for that as well, because then every single video outside of my usual series, even including some of those series, is going to be eyeshadow palette related. So I've got lots of eyeshadow palette content coming your way, so if you'd like to stay tuned for more. In the meantime, thumbs up this video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos a week, so if you'd like to stay tuned for more, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!